Welcome to another episode of Roll or Die. We've got another OG guest for you today on the show. We know our listeners love to hear the stories of the ladies and gentlemen from back in the day, and this is another one of those guests. He comes to us via Robinsons Jiu Jitsu all the way up in Mansfield. He is a second-degree black belt in Jiu Jitsu as well as a second degree in Taekwondo. He is Paul Smyth. Thanks for joining us, Paul.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on, Paul. I usually do a pop quiz at the end, but I'll just throw one question at you straight away. Who swears more, mate? You or Robbo?
Gee, it's hard to beat Robbo, isn't it? It's hard to beat the swearing and the farting of Robbo. Yeah, he raises the bar.
The podcast we did with him, he's just like, he's a loose cannon, right? So he's just chatting away, and I'm like, oh man, this is hilarious. He just doesn't give a shit. He's a legend.
Yeah, we didn't have to put a language warning on that one, but maybe we should have, for our more sensitive listeners.
Yeah. You should have pre-warned about that, but that's all right. That's part of the fun, isn't it?
That's part of the love for the big man.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
How did you guys meet? How did you and Craig meet?
So that part of the story of my martial arts journey is a bit like a Pulp Fiction way of telling a story, right? We'll start with the end. I shouldn't say end because there's a lot more to go in the journey. But the chapter, we'll call it, of the Mansfield chapter was around about the time I was offered a role at Mount Buller, and it was required for me to move to Mansfield. So, long story short, looking forward to moving there. And one part of me not looking forward to moving to Mansfield was the fact that they had no jiu-jitsu school. I was really down about that, but I just, as my colleague said to me, such as Ivan Rakitic, the great Ivan Rakitic, my master, is you're just going to start your own club. And I agreed. I thought, okay, well, if I'm going to train, I've got to start something so I can train. So that was sort of the plan, and I was doing my research on social media, and I noticed that there was, I think someone posted in the local Mansfield community page, what martial arts clubs should we have in Benalla? And I, just at the time of starting to join these groups and looking around to see what people are talking about, what's going on, I popped it in there in the chat, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. Then one of the guys messaged me on Facebook and said, "There's a group of us that live in Mansfield, and we travel out to Benalla to train at Robinsons Jiu Jitsu because that's the closest club, about an hour away." I thought, okay, that's a start. I said, I really appreciate it. Look forward to meeting you, and I'll jump in on the carpool, and off we go. At the same time, I think some people that I was talking to from around the place, I've got a young family, and I'm like, carpooling's cool. I'll definitely do it, but I need something like closer. So just started mentioning that I may have to open up something in Mansfield. Robbo,
when was this, Paul? Sorry to interrupt.
This would have been June 23.
Okay, so recent, yeah.
June 23. No Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu club in Mansfield in the history of time. And Robbo got wind of this, that there was a black belt coming to Mansfield that was looking to open up a club, and thought, stuff him, I'm gonna open up ours quicker. Which I was more than happy to oblige to, because I did not want to open up my own club. I don't really have the time to. So out of nowhere, next minute I hear Mansfield, Benalla, Robinsons Jiu Jitsu is coming to Mansfield. And I thought, you beauty, how's this? And I literally had moved. I started working the winter season at Mount Buller. Halfway through the season, the club opened, and I jumped in at the end of the season. One of the coaches there, RoD, said to me, "Paul, I've been living in Mansfield for like 8 years. I did jiu-jitsu in Melbourne, moved here, and I've been waiting 8 years for a club to open up here. You move here for 2 months and it opens up." So I was very fortunate, very, very grateful that happened. And even more grateful. Look, I've trained at a lot of different jiu-jitsu clubs. Pretty much every club I've been to has been great people. Like the jiu-jitsu community are generally really good people. I don't always enjoy particular types of training, but everyone's cool. So I was kind of hoping. I hope I'm not worried about if people are if it's got a good crew or not, because I'm sure the jiu-jitsu community always has a great crew. But what's their kind of curriculum like, and how am I gonna? Either way, I'm gonna roll or die, right? So first class I walked into, they're striking, and I'm like, this is awesome, because that's my background of that side of jiu-jitsu, is that self-defense aspect, which is what they were working on when I walked in, which was awesome. So met the guys, super friendly, and I've just really felt at home straight away, and I'm sure a lot of people that I've spoken to that have popped into the club felt the same way. It don't have a lot to offer in Mansfield in regards to martial arts clubs. So as soon as it opened, it got flooded, and I couldn't believe it. Literally within, by the time I'd got there after the winter season, they already had like 20 kids and 20 adults, and I'm thinking, what? Normally, it can take you at least a couple of years to build up to that, right? And they're already there. So awesome to have so many people there, and a lot of beginners, which is really cool just to witness that that initial engagement and building of people's journey into jiu-jitsu. And Robbo's great, amazing coach. He's really good with the kids, and running a kids class. There's not, with all the clubs that I've been to, majority of them have not offered kids classes, and because it's really difficult sometimes to teach young kids jiu-jitsu. I used to teach kids taekwondo, and that was very easy. Get everybody to line up, and then you do your kicks, do your punches, and get to a certain age, you can start doing your forms. But jiu-jitsu, it's so free and wild that it's really hard to get structure within that. So Robert does a great job in coaching the kids, and the supporting coaches are really good as well, which they needed to be because they got flooded, right? They got flooded with kids. It was amazing to see the parents was joining in. We had families, and a lot of them are still around today as the club grows. So the next chapter, which is about to unfold from that aspect, is I'm going to be taking some classes on Mount Buller during winter, because the last 2 seasons it's really sucked. I haven't been able to train because we are so flat out at the Buller ski resort over winter that do I get enough time to train is the question, let alone if I do train, what do I want to do? Well, I want to roll. And Robbo's been great to give me some mats for the season. So, and the ARV has given me supported me in setting up those mats in the basketball court there. There's about 900 staff up on the mountain over winter, so finding 10, 20 people who want to have a roll should be quite easy. Plus, a lot of them are travellers, right? We probably have majority of those people that come and work on the mountain over winter from overseas, from all different walks of life. I'm sure I'm going to come across people that have trained before, and if not, it's going to be an honour for me to just introduce those people to the fundamentals of jiu-jitsu. But selfishly, just get to roll. So that I don't go back to Mansfield Jiu-Jitsu at the end of the season and just get bashed in the first couple of weeks, which I'm completely used to. It's happened to me all my life, so that's fine as well. But at least I can kind of keep in the game and keep my mind ticking over. And I love to teach. That's really the part that teaching is when you get those downloads, right? Yeah, you just keep those lights stay on in the what I call the jiu-jitsu cupboard of knowledge. And yeah, as you keep teaching, the lights stay on. Sometimes they get a bit brighter. If you don't teach and you just train, then you have breaks from training, like I have had in the past. Little lights dim, some go off. Some of those great techniques that you've liked, you've completely forgotten. For those that have done jiu-jitsu long enough, everybody knows that's just a part of it, right? And then we all end up going back to fundamentals, which is what the masters tell us to stick with anyway. Stick with the fundamentals. That's the start of the end of the story, I suppose.
I guess that's like a sign of the times, isn't it? What you're saying, that there was no jiu-jitsu at all in Mansfield, and now like it's coming along. And then the same thing, Mount Buller, because I mean, for me, I've been doing jiu-jitsu about 16 years, and I can see in that time the just awareness that people have of jiu-jitsu has just grown exponentially. When I first started, nobody had a clue of what it was, and now it's almost on every corner. Certainly in big cities like Melbourne, it's pretty hard to go too far without coming across a jiu-jitsu gym. So yeah, that's great to hear that it's spreading, into the country areas and into the regions.
And how lucky are we that we are the only school in Mansfield. A lot of places in Australia, I immediately, my thoughts immediately go to like Gold Coast and those city centres where they're on every corner.
Yeah.
And everybody's got their own style and their own style of training and their own curriculum. And the thing is that a lot of students will get to go train at a club, feel like they don't really like it, so they jump to another club and whatever. I never had that option when I was younger, and I didn't need that option, fortunate enough. I've been very fortunate with the teachers that I've had, that where I've flowed to based on whether I've moved house or I've had instructors leave, and I've had to find another club. I've had clubs closed down. It's finding that club that you can call home, because you really do need to call it home, right? It ends up being your second home. Yeah. You want to feel comfortable in everybody you're with, but especially with the people that are leading everyone in their training. All the coaches are essential.
In the Pulp Fiction storyline then, Paul, let's go back now.
Let's go way back.
Talking about martial arts. So, what was the first thing, like your first ever class of a martial art? Like, how old were you? Where was it? And you're talking about having good teachers and instructors. We know as adults, a coach can keep you in the sport, or a coach can get you out of a sport really, really quickly, right? So, tell us about your first lesson in any martial art you have, and any memories of those early coaches as well.
Yeah, so I suppose I was born 76. I'm an 80s kid, and with that comes influences like the Karate Kid, which is the big influence for me. So I grew up in Seaford, and I used to do scouts and do the usual footy and soccer, and tried a little bit of everything, and didn't gel with a lot of different sports for whatever reason. I was watching, get up super early in the mornings as an 8-year-old or whatnot, and just watch cartoons. I'd watch He-Man. I'd watch all these different all those cool 80s cartoons, and then it was the Karate Kid that's like, I've got to do karate, But Mum and Dad weren't really into me doing that. I think my grandfather was a boxer, and put Dad off me doing any of that sort of thing. And he never did any of it, so he didn't really get it. But I just knew I had to do that. But there was nothing around. And then it wasn't until I was in year 7 we moved to Langwarrin, and I love skateboarding. And I remember I was out skating as soon as we moved, and met a couple of locals there, and as I was just skating around, and literally 100 meters from the house at a gymnasium at Langwarrin Park Primary School, there was a Taekwondo club that was running. So I remember the three of us just sort of sticking our heads into the door, and the coach there at the time, Brian Blackburn, that was taking a Taekwondo and Taekyon, which is a combination of the traditional Taekwondo, but also a lot of self-defense in there through Taekyon. So we kind of stuck our heads in. He pulled us in and said, "Yeah, come and jump in on the classes. It's Monday, Wednesday nights, da-da-da." I'm like, cool, I can just skate to class. So I said to Mum and Dad, I'm just going to go start Taekwondo. See you later. I'll just skate. I don't need anyone to drop me off. I just skated there. 3 of us went and lined up and did a class. We probably trained there for a couple of years, but I remember just loving the format. It was just straight out of like the movie. Everyone lining up, bowing when you go in. And I just like, this is cool. This is just like the movie. Then we'd start doing kicking, we're punching, we're learning how to stand, learning our balance, all that sort of thing. But I was a bit of a rat bag. I just wanted to skate and surf. And when it came around to grading time, I didn't really care too much. I'd sort of just take off, and sometimes I just bailed from grading. Grading's got into trouble. I remember Brian chasing us in his car, just for fun, chasing us through the streets on our skateboards one time because we were getting out of gradings. But there was
that was the 80s, wasn't it?
total
It's so
80s.
different to now,
We're
yeah.
skating through the shopping centres, chasing us in the car. Yeah, so we kind of like dropped out for a little while, and my two friends didn't return, but I felt a yearning to go back. So I just walked in. I think it was a year and a half later, and I'm one of the first people I met was a guy named Shane Beresford, who was a blue belt in Taekwondo, and we just clicked straight away and just became best friends. And I'm turning 49 this year, and this was back when I was 14. So, and we're still very good friends today, through many journeys in martial arts together. So that was my first experience with Taekwondo. After that, I pretty much didn't look back. I had a little goal that I set myself. I'm very goal orientated. I like to set myself challenges, and even back then, I just said to myself, I want to get my black belt before I'm 21. And then I got super serious into the training, and then that led to doing some weights and running and anything that assisted me with the training and stretching. And I was super influenced by one of the head coaches there, Andrew Humphreys, and he'd already been doing a lot of things. He'd been over to Thailand doing Muay Thai. He'd been doing Arnis with the best Arnis practitioners in Australia. And he was introducing these other aspects of martial arts into the Taekwondo class. To cut a long story short, Brian ended up leaving. Andrew ended up leaving and running a combat fighting academy. I think it was in Morty Alec, Sandringham, around there. And Shane ended up taking over the club, and I assisted Shane in teaching at that club. So I ended up getting my black belt literally 3 months before I turned 21. So I was super happy. I got in. I got that ticked up box, and then I was training a lot with Andrew, and Andrew was doing the combat fighting. Andrew ended up sparring with someone, and he was just, to me, Andrew was just the ultimate. He had the Steven Seagal, long hair, ponytail, and Steven Seagal was obviously just kicking in. We're starting to get Van Damme movies kicking in. So we're gone from Karate Kid to now we're looking at kickboxing with Van Damme. We're looking at Out for Justice with Steven Seagal. So I'm just like in that world. I don't care about any other sports. What footy club do you go for? I don't care. I just want to fight. I just want to train. I don't care about anything else. Watching the movies. And Andrew, who was a huge influence on me, just encompassed MMA. And he was I don't know what the story, how the story exactly goes, but he did say to us that he was sparring with someone or play fighting with someone or whatever, with all of his knowledge, and he was just like, to me, the top of the mountain. He had a bit of a train with someone who'd done jiu-jitsu, and we're in the sort of mid-90s now, and he was taken down and just dominated, and he said, I've got to learn this. And one of the students that did this to him trained at with Peter DeBean, I think in Torquay at the time. So Andrew was driving to Torquay from Melbourne to train with Pete and learn all the tricks from him. So Andrew ended up getting his like blue belt, and he's teaching us in Taekwondo classes jiu-jitsu. And we're going, what the hell is jiu-jitsu? He ended up giving us a VHS tape, which at the time was like black market style, UFC 1. You go, watch this. So we're like watching it like we know we're doing something naughty, and and watching this UFC 1, kicking teeth out and all the rest of it, and obviously Hoist Gracie, was ricocheted through the world and ricocheted through our lounge room while we watched that, and watching him dominate in jiu-jitsu, and we're all looking at each other, and Andrew's like, yeah, this is why we've got to learn this. So we started doing, we're doing jiu-jitsu in our Taekwondo gis. You know how easy they are to rip, right? So, and I did a bit of competing in Taekwondo, so that was just a sort of side note. That was a bit of fun, but I was really like loving this jiu-jitsu, and we were combining it, right? We were doing stand-up through sort of Taekwondo, a bit of Andrew's sort of Muay Thai that he was teaching us, boxing, and even with the Arnis as well, learning how to disarm, take person to the ground. Okay, then we move into jiu-jitsu. So we went to Peter DeBean's in St Kilda once he opened up there, and we did some classes there with Pete. And Andrews ended up opening up a jiu-jitsu club sort of under Peter DeBean. Back at that time when Andrew was training with Peter DeBean, one of his training partners was Ivan Rakitic. And we had I think it was like Ivan, it was Lance, who's out at Ballarat, and we had Andrew. So
Lance, come on this podcast, please.
Lance,
Paul, if you can put in a good word for
absolute
Lance.
legend.
I can't tell you how many people are asking me to have Lance on.
Yeah.
I've asked him that many times, I think he's blocking me now.
Yeah. Yeah, he's always been one to kind of keep to himself. Yeah, I always remember looking at him, and he reminded me of like Keanu Reeves back in the day. Those guys were all training with each other, and we ended up just purely focusing on jiu-jitsu with Andrew. I was absolutely shattered, actually, to the point where I remember I'll never forget the night where Andrew told us he was going to move to Bundaberg and leave us and go and teach up there. I'll never forget the night that we all lined up and he sort of said, this is the last class for me. I was choking up so bad.
Yeah.
He just was such a influence to me, just like a guy that I looked up to from when I was 14 all the way up, and now I'm probably early 20s, mid 20s, and I'm like, what am I going to do? Like, this legend, this hero of mine is moving on. I felt really lost at the time. I was blue belt in jiu-jitsu, and Andrew just said to me, "You've got to find this guy, Ivan Rakitic." Because Andrew used to teach us everything from so much self-defense. He had us outside, so I think it was Sandringham Town Hall, punching on in the dirt, falling in the mud, like rolling, like just street scenarios, like use the striking, use the grappling, the stuff you probably get fined for now in doing that in clubs. But
Yeah.
we did a lot of that sort of old school dirty training, but it was amazing. We're all scared shitless doing it, but it was so many times I was so scared, like when I was training. I remember when Andrew actually graded me for my second dan in Taekwondo, but the grading was not traditional Taekwondo like the first dan grading. He actually encompassed Jiu-Jitsu into it, and he had us doing our forms, then we're doing our striking, and then we're doing our self-defense, and then we went into Jiu-Jitsu. I don't think I've ever been so exhausted it's one of those gradings where you just got nothing left, and then he takes you into the deep waters for another 50%. And then
It's like, hey, let's go to the ground now. You're like, what? Wait,
dude, like my soul had nothing left. Like I remember being so like, and I'd already worked my ass off for this whole grading, and we're at the last part of it. This is just before sort of Andrew left, fortunately enough. And I remember he got everybody I was just there, he got everybody to line up and just grapple me one after the other. And he said, Paul, if you tap grading, your grading is done. Like, you fail your grading. And I believed him. And I was getting like hammered, but at the same time, I remember, like, as mentioned before, my good friend Shane, he was grappling me and he's whispering in my ear, come on, brother, come on, you got it. He's not trying to kill me. He's just taking me through. And I'm just like, oh, I've got nothing. I can't even like open my eyes, let alone fight. But I remember being so exhausted that I was close to vomiting, but I don't think I had anything to vomit. So I went into the bathroom afterwards and I absolutely just bawled my eyes out. It was just like everything was gone. And it was amazing because Andrew said to me, this has got to be a transformation. This is a transition. You'll never be the same person again after this. And even though I did feel that in other gradings in certain ways, other than just the stripe on your belt or the new belt, you definitely feel like you've changed. You've gone through something, walked through the fire, you've changed. Definitely felt that after that grading. So there's a lot of great memories with Andrew. Love him dearly, and he's doing great up at Bundaberg. I wish I could see him more often. But when he left and he told me I've got to find Ivan, I said, "Where's Ivan?" I had to reach out to Pete, try and get some help with some coaching. We ended up getting Bob Watkins from Pete to come out and teach us. That was really cool. He taught us at Cranbourne for a bit. Then I had an amazing experience where Shane and myself and another buddy of ours went to Brazil, and we went and trained at Gracie Barra under Carlos Gracie Jr. in Brazil.
Is this still a blue belt, Paul?
I'm still a blue belt. Yeah, still a blue belt at this point. Blue belt for a long time.
Early 20s?
Yeah, so mid-20s, blue belt.
Yeah.
Opportunity to go to Brazil. We went to around Brazil, different places. We did Carnival. But I ended up every morning from Barra would travel into the town. Would go and get Portuguese classes in the morning. Go to the club, do a couple of hours training there with the monsters that were there, and then leave, go grab an acai bowl and go to the beach. And that was our experience for a few weeks. And that was another part of that journey that I really felt like I changed experiencing that. And yeah, we're not up to too many UFCs by then, but we had some people there that were world champions that were training. I was watching the big monsters do their MMA training while we were off to the side doing our jiu-jitsu training. And the club in Baja it's like 4 levels, and it's a tin roof at the top, and we're at the very top. And I've never trained to this day in somewhere so hot. And I remember the mops coming out to sweep up all the sweat. It looked like it was like that deep, just like, little kids could swim in it. It was absolutely like crazy, so hot, and there's so many people.
Oh, how many people would have been on the mat? Like at that time, how many people were on the mat?
There was 2 classes going on at the time. We probably had about maybe 20 of us, and multiple classes like through the day, right?
Yeah.
So I think we're doing 11 a.m. class. So it's not the big class at night. At night, I'm thinking there's like 100 people on the mat. It's a huge area. Carlos Gracie Jr. was taking those classes, and I was teed up with one of his coaches during that sort of 11 a.m. Session. But yeah, that was a crazy experience. And just a couple of things from that experience was where I really did learn about the empty jacket that Hickson Gracie talks about. You're fighting the invisible jacket. I remember I was blue belt at the time. I was doing a lot of weights. I felt really strong, mid-20s, and I come up against like this 14-year-old black belt that was just I feel like I could throw him across the room, right? And I'm thinking, okay, he's a black belt, but I'm strong. I'm even stronger, and I'm not going to like smash him out of respect anyway. Like I'm just going to flow, and I couldn't catch him. It was just like disappeared, gone to my back, choke, gone armbar, boom, 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 done. And I was just in shock, thinking, what the heck just happened? Same thing happened with an older guy. I remember an older gentleman, Brazilian guy, 60, but looked kind of frailish. And I'm thinking again, like, okay, I'm not going to go. If they were 25 and strong, I've got to use all my strength here. I'm thinking I'm not going to use all my strength, but obviously technique's going to be the challenge. Challenge is like an understatement, right? I couldn't grab him. He's disappearing. Every time I went to grab him here, he's over there. I'd go there. He's over here. He's on my back. He's on my arm. He was just doing whatever he wanted. And I thought, and I didn't feel strength. I just felt that flow. And when Hickson Gracie talks about that invisible jacket, that's what it felt like. I felt like I was just grabbing a jacket and there's no body in there, just going wherever. That was when I really felt like I'm properly introduced to Brazilian Jiu Jitsu from roll. And I hadn't really rolled with black belts before at that point. So that was amazing. That was an amazing experience. And then coming back from that, training with Bob, one of Pete's students at Cranbourne, he said he had to move on. He couldn't teach us anymore. And then at that point, we found out that Big Mick from Pete's was going over and teaching at Kelly Safe's XFC gym in Noble Park. And I thought, I love Big Mick. He's just like this massive dude who's smashing everybody in comps, and great guy as well. So we went there and I met Kelly Safe for the first time, another amazing master out there of martial arts. And we started doing jiu-jitsu with Mick, but there was so much going on at that gym. The XFC gym was having champion boxers, kickboxers, and they were doing boxing classes, Muay Thai. I thought I've got to get back into my stand-up because I hadn't done stand-up for a while. So I started jumping into all the other classes, and I'm a young kid. All I've got is I'm working. I don't have any kids, and this is the days I'm late 20s, I think now. Maybe 20, 26, 27, and I'm training like 6 days a week. I'm doing jiu-jitsu classes, I'm doing kickboxing classes, I'm doing the weights, and just absolutely engulf myself into this life. And then someone said, Ivan Rakitic is going to be teaching here soon. So that's the guy. That's the guy.
That's the guy.
That's the guy that I'm meant to find, right? And so Mick ended up moving on, and then I met Ivan, and wow, Andrew had told me all about him, and it was the same kind of approach to jiu-jitsu, where it was, in a nutshell, so practical for self-defense. And didn't Ivan come along with some stories? Here he is. He's been working doors for years, bodyguards, Zendu master. Another one that's done a lot of different things like Andrew had done. And Andrew, like Andrew said, he's been my training partner there. He's got similar kind of style to me. He's got the same kind of approach, and it was spot on. So locked in with Ivan, still training at XFC, flat out. And then then when I was there, Ivan gave me my purple belt. So when I was at XFC, so there's a big gap between me getting graded because of changes in, not necessarily I was still living in the same place, but just changes in clubs, and Andrew going from Mordialloc to Cranbourne, and then leaving Cranbourne, and then me going from Cranbourne to Noble Park, obviously starting in Langwarrin. So you're just kind of like following. The good thing for me, though, I was lucky. It all started with Andrew, and then Andrew linked me in with Ivan, and I've never looked back since I've been with Ivan, right? So Ivan left XFC and started his own club, Rayoma, in Clayton. And I was kind of torn because I was loving XFC. I wanted to stay there, and I was right into MMA now, because now we're doing a lot with this MMA classes now, and I'm absolutely loving that. I'm using what I've learned in Taekwondo with those MMA classes, and now I've kind of got a bit of a base game for Jiu-Jitsu, so it's starting to come together. But I did want to follow another goal, which was to get my black belt in Jiu-Jitsu by the time I was 40. To do that, I needed to just go all in with Ivan, and unfortunately leave the guys at XFC that I love so much. Again, it was my home away from home, so it's kind of sad leaving a club when you really, you got so many connections, and you go through a lot, when you train all the time, and blood, sweat, and tears, and I always kind of end up feeling, I don't know, I find it hard to disconnect when I've got that brotherhood and that loyalty going. But
I've done that too, Paul. Like left the gym, and it literally feels like a relationship breakup.
It does. It really does.
I still love you, but I can't be with you anymore.
Yeah. So I'll be back. Yeah, exactly right. It really is what it feels like. But Ivan, so I knew that's where I needed to be. So went to Rayoma, and the next part of it, I suppose, Peter DeBean was coming to do a seminar, and I'm rolling, and next minute I feel like a belt around my neck, and it's Peter DeBean giving me my brown belt with the guidance of Ivan. So got my brown belt with Peter DeBean there, so that was pretty cool. And then Ivan brought in just some amazing people that I got to train with, from Sam Greco, Sam Solomon, to Richard Norton, having a lot of sessions with Richard Norton. I've gone blank on the other gent's name, from Rob Follis. Rob Follis, another amazing human being, and Sydney Silva. And then Ivan started to bring in the legend seminars that he spoke about, and he brought in brought people like Nate Diaz, Hoyce Gracie, Hoyler Gracie, Henzo Gracie, Vanderlei Silva. I'm meeting all these people. It's so cool, getting involved in all the seminars that he ran. So getting exposed to all that was amazing. jumping in on every seminar that I could. And I think I did probably 3 Royce Gracie seminars, which was amazing. Went out to lunch actually with Nate Diaz. He's a lot bigger than I thought. Taller, big shoulders. I thought you were skinny. That's what Connor said, but you're not. You're big. But he was cool. He was so cool. Just such a chilled guy.
That's wicked.
You just think Nate Diaz is going to be like, the fuck do you want? Like, I've got no time for like anyone else. He got that attitude, but he's so friendly, right? He was so friendly. And Vanderlei Silva was another one that was super friendly. But yeah, can't go past like Hoyce and Hoyler. That was another amazing one. And then going to different clubs and with amongst all that, meeting other people at different clubs is always really cool. And then that sort of gets to the point where I think I'm about 38, 37, 38. And then Ivan, he's so good with how he speaks and presents things. And this particular night, he gets everyone to sit down and starts telling everyone he's going to introduce kind of a particular way of grading and certificates and all the sort of more formal things. And he says, and I'm sitting up the front next to him, and he said, so I'll just show you like the certificates that I'll be giving out. They kind of look like this, and he holds it up, and everyone just looks at it and starts clapping and looking at me. I'm like, what? And everyone stands up, and he turns it to me, and it says, Paul, black belt. And that's how he like graded me to get the black belt. So,
Wow.
and another time, like, fell off my ass. So I got the black belt before I was 40. I'd done a few competitions in jiu-jitsu back in, I think the first comp was 2001. And they actually, when I was doing the comps back then, around that time we were training at Cranbourne, I did go to, did a little travel up to Sydney and trained with Paolo Gomeris up there at Roots in Sydney. Always saw him. He was a real character when he, back in the day when he was at Melbourne jiu-jitsu competitions. And went up and hung out with him and his crew. That was really cool. I think he had Tony Bonello training with him up there at that time. I think he was, what was he, King of the Cage champion at the time. Just every once in a while came across these beasts when I was training, and you just see the levels, right? I'll never forget when Ivan told me when he was rolling with Sydney Silva and Ivan, to me, it's like just annihilates all of us. He's just like jiu-jitsu. He's unbelievable. Call him the wizard. He's just amazing. And he would tell us that Sydney Silva would just kind of do to him what he does to us. We're like, what? What are you talking about? How could he do that to you? Okay, well, all right. And then he said, yeah, but Sydney Silva told me that what he does to me, Rickson Gracie does to him. Now you talk about mind blown, right? Like just trying to understand these levels. It's unfathomable.
Levels are ridiculous, aren't they?
Oh,
Levels are ridiculous.
Unbelievable.
Like Dan Schwartz said the same thing about Rodden with Gordon Ryan.
Yeah.
He's like, I can go 100% against Gordon. I'm looking at Gordon. Gordon's kind of like just watching around the room, making sure everyone's doing things all right. It's like, oh my God.
The old Rickson Gracie going, I'm going to, 3.5 minutes, I'm going to grab this, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do this to you and finish you with this one.
Ridiculous.
And you're like, yeah, right, all right, okay, no worries.
And against people who are legit good.
Legit good, like world champions and stuff. Now, it's probably one of my highlights of my journey, and there's been many highlights, it has been meeting particular individuals. Richard Norton was one of them, but I have to say that I suppose the one that floored me the most was when I met Rickson Gracie, because to me, back in the day watching Choke, and there's a lot of things that he spoke about that just resonated with me that no one else was really talking about at the time. He was talking about the importance of well-being, the importance of diet, the importance of breathing, stuff that really wasn't being talked about in the 90s and even in 2000s, but I really saw this kind of complete martial artist here, and then obviously the way that his attitude and the way that he'll prepare for fights and then fight, we saw him in Pride and all the rest of it. I just thought he's just the ultimate. He's just the ultimate. And so much so I've got his kind of logo tattooed on myself. And when I met him, I showed him, and he didn't really care. But I thought, this is a big deal, No, he didn't really care. But out of all the seminars I've been to, I think I just really felt his presence when I met him, and I don't think any, and I know he doesn't come around very often. I've read his book and I know all his life story. I just like, I suppose if I'm going to be a biggest fan of anyone in that martial arts world other than Bruce Lee, it's got to be Hickson Gracie. I just found him just to be so so complete. His philosophy and the way that he trained and the way that he fought and the way that he talked the seminar, the way that he talked to everybody. And I'm looking at this man who looks like he's been through so many wars, and you can see it when he's doing his little warm up that his body is just like hurting, but he just keeps going, and he's so passionate about it. So much so that he's done millions of seminars, but even just talking to us Melbourne crew, he still got emotional when he was talking about his dad and talking about his passion for the art. And I was like, wow, this guy is just unbelievable. And of course, when he took a seminar, he went through fundamentals, and like Hoyce, like Hoyler, they all talk about the fundamentals is where you need to focus. And that really resonated with me because it's the practicality of it. It's the self-defense side of it. I've never really, I think I got to, what was it, purple belt. I went in competitions, chose purple belt. I don't think I came came first in any of the comps. There's so many people training, and I got second a few times. But I remember when I got to purple belt, I came up against a guy who I found out just after was about to get his brown, only just got my purple. And these guys were training every day for comps. And I just thought, you know what, this is not for me. I love the competition. I think everybody should do it for experience. But I just loved, and we've only got so much time to spend in our training, especially as we get a bit older. We have families. And I just was so passionate about the self-defense side of the jiu-jitsu, which you could argue a lot of people starting to talk about it now that is lost in a lot of clubs these days. And I understood back in the day, everyone was fighting to get those. A lot of clubs were fighting to get those medals and those trophies so they could promote their club. And I get all that because a lot of the street stuff doesn't really get any kind of, you don't get medals for that. It's hard to kind of showcase what you're doing there. But it seemed like as clubs opened up on every corner, a lot of them were focusing on that. And I really felt lucky that I was able to stay within that space of self-defense. I think every club should do both, but some clubs want to zone in on one, and whatever they want to do, is totally cool. It's their thing. But I personally really love the self-defense side of it. Now that I have a son and a daughter that is now thankfully started jiu-jitsu and just got their first stripe not long ago.
Awesome.
To me, it's just like I just want to give them the tools for self-defense. If they stick around, want to keep training, great. If they don't, that's fine too. But they have to learn the fundamentals of self-defense. And I think that's something that a lot of everybody needs to learn it. And jiu-jitsu is one of the, as we all know, is one of the best martial arts to study to get that self-defense aspect going. But the traditional Gracie jiu-jitsu taught a lot of stand-up self-defense. You see it in the old videos with Helio, and even in the new ones with Hannah and all that doing it. So it's something that's super important, I think, for everybody to do. So more self-defense seminars that happen. I know Robbo's running a few. He's running one soon. I'm actually trying to get Ivan up here, maybe even onto the mountain at some point to run the self-defense. I mean, you could, with Ivan, it's like, what do you do? Get him for 2 hours? What do we? Because so much knowledge in there. But the self-defense side of things, the stories that he has from when he's tried a lot of this stuff in the street, whether it's someone breaking into his car or in a nightclub when he's trying to read people or getting snuck up on, taking someone down and this landing in the mountain, realizing that he just smashed his knees on the ground in concrete. So, talking about a lot of these particular moves and what's going to happen if you do them on the street. You're not going to get comfortable mats to land on. You need to keep that in mind when you do these particular type of moves. And there's ways to learn it where you can land a certain way and not crush your knees if you're taking someone down. But that's another curriculum that, again, takes time in the class to learn. And hopefully more clubs spend time in that space.
That's probably that whole, big rounded martial art journey, for people who want that whole complete package, like what you've sort of done over your journey, Paul. Like that's sort of the big orb of it, isn't it?
Come full circle sort of thing.
Yeah.
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 100%.
Hey, I wanted to ask you, Paul, just quickly, you were talking about your time in Brazil. How were you guys treated as gringos back then?
Yeah.
Because this was back in the 90s.
Yeah, so basically I was told, wear the Peter de Bean gi. Where you're going, Peter de Bean obviously used to be in the Brazilian, I think it was Brazilian top team, competing. So everybody had a lot of respect for him. They were friendly to everybody. However, I did notice that there were some people that unfortunately walked into their dojo without properly respecting everyone. And I was told by Pete himself, yep, when you go in there, you're going to meet my good buddy Gordo. Go shake his hand first, and then go around and shake all the black belts' hands, and then you can start your class. So I'm like full zone, full respect, going in there. Peter de Bean gi, find Gordo, straight to Gordo. And this is like 2002, I think it was 2003, and Gordo was there. Like every class, that was cool. Very well known practitioner and coach, and the coaches would say, Peter de Bean, yeah. And I was learning a bit of Portuguese as well, so I was trying to like talk to them a bit in Portuguese as well, which they had a lot of respect for me trying to learn that. I do remember this big purple belt, red beard American coming in with not a white gi, like this blue gi or something, and I don't know, just came in with a bit of an attitude and wanted to like prove himself. And I remember looking over and thinking, best of luck, buddy.
Yeah, you're missing the point, mate.
Best of luck. I mean, I think he quietened down as every class I went to. He got a little bit quieter. But I just thought he's going to have a bit of a tough time. But, they'll sort him out. Look, they've seen it all before. So many people traveling there, all the time to just do a month of classes, fly in, fly out. We try to stay there as long as we can and commit to as many classes, sometimes 2 classes a day, to get as much knowledge as we could. But they knew, we're a part of Peter de Bean's crew, and that was definitely a big help for us. But they're respectful to everybody who walks in. I think it's as soon as you, as a gringo, don't show it back, you're just gonna find out the hard way.
Yeah.
And I think that goes for walking into any martial art gym, right? Like if you walk in with that respectful attitude, you're polite to people, whoever they are, like fucking be polite to everybody, the white belt who walks up to you and like be polite to them. And, if you do that, then I think that's going to take you a lot further than going in with, that, well, not even a chip on your shoulder, but going in feeling like that you need to prove yourself, especially when you're visiting gyms.
Yes.
I was taught back in the day that every time that I walked in, I would bow before I walk into the training space. There are clubs that don't force that, and that's fine. But I've been doing it for so long that I walk in to every club and I don't know, it's unconscious. I will always bow, and just to respect the room.
Yeah. We must have just missed each other, Paul, because I started at de Bean in 2009. So I don't know if you were still there then, but yeah, a lot of the names that you mentioned, they're names from my past as well. Thank you so much. Like, we could do another 2 episodes with you. This has been amazing, and thank you so much for giving up your time. You're a super busy man. Like Brent, I said at the start, he's got his little pop quiz of questions that I think he's going to hit you with some questions now.
All right,
I got a couple, Paul. We'll run through these, mate. All right, iPhone or Samsung?
iPhone.
Strength or flexibility?
Flexibility.
Favorite belt you've had in either in Taekwondo or Jiu Jitsu?
Oh, gee, that is a tough one. Definitely. Definitely. They're so different, right? Like every bout is such an important chapter. I said to my kids that the first stripe on your white belt is like one of the most important gradings because you've just surpassed the introduction phase. Like you've been bashed, you've been thrown around, and you've decided to stay there. But then there's different things to say for blue and for purple. But one thing I will say that was a surprise, every time in jiu-jitsu, the way that we were graded, like the old sort of school ways, was to just be training. Next minute you get whipped with your belt, or you get choked with your belt, or you get handed your belt while you're rolling. Was when I did get, I'd seen that mountain where the black belt was there, and I was striving for that black belt. And along the way, the joys of getting the other belts have got their own stories. But I remember getting the black belt in jiu-jitsu, and it was a really weird feeling because getting my black belt in taekwondo took me about 6 years, because I had a couple of year break. But getting my black belt in jiu-jitsu was such a journey of I never wanted to stop, but I had to stop and change for different reasons. And it really did take me like 12, 13 years to get my black belt. As I'm getting closer, brown belt, stripes and stuff, I know that black belt's coming. Don't know when, but it's kind of like you're just frothing for it. You know it's coming. You just train like a beast. You're almost to the top of the mountain, right? Which is what I saw was the top of the mountain of jiu-jitsu. When I'm there, I got my black belt. Okay. Once I got the black belt, I had this massive adrenaline dump that lasted about a week. I felt depressed. It was I had to even say to one of my training partners, I don't know what I'm feeling. It's just really weird. I felt like honored, emotional, amazing on the night. Then as the week went on, I felt this depression like come over me. It was a really weird feeling, like as if I've hit where do I go to from here kind of thing. It's almost like my journey is finished. Was an unconscious maybe kind of feeling.
Like the baby blues after people have a baby.
Yeah.
They get something like that after they have a kid sometimes, like a little bit of depression after the excitement of the birth.
Yeah, adrenaline dump.
Yeah.
I was shocked that I felt it, to be honest. And maybe it was because I then looked up when got to the top of the mountain, looked up and went, holy shit, that's like the top of the mountain. The mountain like goes forever to infinity, right?
Yeah.
And I go, I've got to climb that now. But I think that just humbled me. I think I just felt like that this is actually the beginning now. This is actually the beginning where I start to filter what works for me in my older age and what I need to use, what I need to teach, and probably more from a teaching, and how do I incorporate this into my life now rather than just trying to be, not that I was ever trying to be king of the fighters, but just always trying to push myself physically. Now it's just about not maintenance. I don't even really like that word, but just trying to challenge myself continually. Like I need to keep the challenge going for the rest of my life now, and I'll never stop. I'll never. The jiu-jitsu journey will run forever, and within that, I'll pick up other. I still learn from my kids. My kids are doing silly little moves on me, and I'm thinking, actually, that's pretty good. I could use that. I literally am now. When you get to that place, you realize you can learn from everybody. The person who comes in on the first night to someone who's been doing it forever. There's things that you can still learn from every human being every single time you roll or you strike or whatever it is you're doing. So I realize I think I'm a constant student. There's no such thing as mastery, and we just keep disciplined, keep focused, keep going. It's just part of the DNA now, and off we go. That's a really short answer for you. Anyway.
It's a pop quiz, mate. So short answer. I actually love that answer. It's really good. Head kick or a rear naked choke?
Rear naked choke. Even in
Favourite 80s movie?
Taekwondo, I couldn't do a proper head kick, so rear naked choke every day.
Favourite 80s movie?
I've talked up Karate Kid, haven't I?
It's a foundation, though, right?
Yeah. It was such an influence. It was such an influencing movie. But then it was like Into the Dragon. And I'm a bit of a Star Wars fan too. So I remember going to see Return of the Jedi at the cinemas in I think it was '88. So Indiana Jones. The '80s is just the best for music, for movies. So you're killing me with that question. Anything music, movies in the '80s, it's like It was all
It's the
shit over everything these days. Anyway,
and any awesome movie had a fucking awesome soundtrack to it.
100%. Like, what's the favorite 80s movie? Like, Rocky, Indiana Jones, Karate Kid, Kickboxer.
All
That was
of it.
early 90s, wasn't it?
All right, I've got a couple more. I got three more. Who is your GOAT? Greatest of all time.
Sorry, say that again.
Who's the GOAT for you? The greatest of all time. Who's the GOAT?
Hickson Gracie.
Yeah. Two more that define you as a person, mate. So these are the big questions. Can you drive a manual car?
I hate driving a manual car.
But you can drive one?
No, I never want to drive one. I've never driven one in my entire life.
Wow.
Never driven one.
Wow.
And I've never
It's out
wanted
here
to.
on the internet now. Everyone knows that.
Nah, auto
I
all the
asked
way.
these questions,
Nah.
because I asked them. And then the last one, which truly defines you as a person, do you wear Crocs?
Never worn Crocs in my life.
You're redeemed. You're redeemed.
How can you be ready to strike in Crocs or thongs? One thing I was listening to a podcast. I think it was Sean Ryan with the CIA guy talking about what you need to be prepared for when you're traveling or when you're wherever, and he says never wear thongs because you can't run, you can't. And I thought that's so good. That's so good.
So one of my a really good friend of mine, a guy called Jay, who I continually talk. I've spoken about Jay a couple of times on the podcast, and he's a guest that we'll get on one day from America. Jay's just constantly ready for a fight. Like his mind, like he's a peaceful, loving person, but he's a beast. And I gave him a hoodie, one of our work hoodies. I gave him a hoodie, and he looked at it. He goes, "Mate, this is beautiful." Like, thank you. He puts it on, and the first thing he does, as he's put it on, he just pulls the drawstring out and throws it in the bin. And he's like, "No one will check me with that." But that's his mindset. It's like,
100%.
Someone can check me with this. I'll better get rid of that.
I've been under the wings of the likes of Andrew Humphrey, Kelly Save, Ivan Rakitic. There's always been that samurai mindset of you're not walking around stressed, but you're walking around aware, and I actually feel more relaxed as a person with the knowledge that I have, that I'm not watching my back or anything. It's just the way that you walk. It's the way that you position yourself, and when you're sitting in certain places. I still have mates that come up, like sneak up behind me, so I put my back to the wall so I can watch the restaurant. I don't do so much Jason Bourne, counting the exits and read the maps on the wall so much, but it's just about feel comfortable in just that awareness, situational awareness, which is what we teach in the self-defense classes. And don't get too close. Even though I always like watching fights, just one of many silly stories I could tell in this we'll save it for another day. But if anyone remembers Stylist Nightclub, I had long hair, ponytail, trying to be like Andrew Humphreys, trying to be like Steven Seagal, and I was watching a fight in the middle of the dance floor at Stylist Nightclub. I had earrings, I had long hair, and I was like watching from the side, watching what everyone's doing. Oh yeah, wasn't jumping in. I didn't want to get involved, but I just like watching. Someone grabbed my ponytail from behind, pulled me down, and uppercutted me, hit me right in the eye. Thankfully, it wasn't in the nose. Hit me in the eye, and I came flying back. And I looked around. No one to be seen. Everyone's just punching on. I take a couple of steps back, going, "Where is this person that's just smacked me one?" No one even looking at me. And then I go into the bathroom. I got this big shiner, and I went, "Screw this! I'm cutting my hair, and I'm never getting that close to a brawl ever again, unless I'm in it. But I'm just going to stand right back." The very next day, I went to my hairdresser. I said, "Shave my head, but I'm a Tong Po fan. Leave a big section at the back so I can have a nice big plait, and let's leave that for a little while." And I had a little Tong Po. My hair was probably down to here, so it was a decent Tong Po plait. The girls hated it. The guys loved it. It only lasted a couple of months because no girl would really talk to me. So, shaved my head, got my earrings out, said, "That's it. I'm never having long hair ever again." So long hair, close to a brawl, ponytail, not a good thing.
Okay.
Bad situational awareness there. So learned my lesson.
Thank you so much, Paul, for giving up your time. It's been amazing to hear like your journey, and as I said, like the names that you've brought up. We've had quite a few of those names on previous podcasts. So anybody that's listening, if they go back over our back catalogue, you may find some of those people. We've actually got an Ivan Radikic black belt on next week. That's
Awesome.
that is still to come. So it's a funny old world. So thank you once again. We'll have this episode out in a couple of weeks. You'll probably be up at Mount Buller by then, but I'm pretty sure you'll still be able to listen to it.
Winter Wonderland, and it'll be snowing like crazy, and it will be rolling in the snow, hopefully.
Yeah.
Right. That sounds magnificent. Thank you, guys. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Roll or Die. Remember, keep training, stay humble, and it's not about the belt. It is definitely about the journey, as Paul sort of really touched on. Big shout out to our sponsor, Athletic Body Care, for keeping us fresh on and off the mats. If you enjoyed the show, please remember to like, rate, and share it. If you've got like dummy accounts or ones under somebody else's name, then you're actually allowed to still jump on and like, rate, and share under false names. Like, I'm not saying that you have to, but it's not illegal. You can do that. Check out our merchandise. We've still got some t-shirts left. Kim is sporting her awesome one today.
Got to get myself one of those.
And that's it. Remember, share this around. Paul, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me,
love
guys.
your storytelling, mate. It was
Keep up the
really
good work.
cool.
Love it.
Mate, we appreciate it.
We'll have to get you on for
cool
part
names
2.
come back out. Yeah, part 2 will be good.
Yeah.
That's it. We'll see you on the next episode of Roll or Die podcast. Thanks, legends.